Look at the time on your phone. Seems ordinary, right? But what if I told you that your phone's clock isn't really yours at all? Behind that little set of numbers is one of the most important invisible systems in modern life. A globally scaled system that quietly syncs every phone, every tower, and every server down to the microsecond. Without it, your texts would arrive out of order, your calls would drop, and the internet itself would begin to break. This is how the world stays in sync to the billionth of a second, and how without it, the world would crumble. Well, not instantly at least. Let's go back a bit. Your phone shows the time, but it doesn't decide the time on its own. Instead, it listens. Let me explain. When you connect to a cell tower, part of what you're receiving is a time signal. Every tower broadcasts its clock, which isn't just some ordinary watch. Cell towers are synced with incredibly precise atomic clocks, which are accurate to within the billionth of a second. These work by, instead of using gears or quartz crystals, they measure time by listening to atoms themselves. Take cesium, for example, which is used in a cesium fountain atomic clock. Its electrons naturally switch between two energy levels at an extremely precise rate, exactly 9,192,631,770 times per second. Geez, try saying that 5 times fast. An atomic clock blasts the atoms with microwaves. No, not those kind, microwaves. And when the frequency matches that natural rhythm, the atoms resonate, almost like a tuning fork. The clock then locks onto that signal and counts each cycle as a tick. That's what defines 1 second. Not by human invention, but by the laws of physics. Well, actually, let me take a step back here before the YouTube comments eat me alive. The second is a human invention, but what we define as a second today can also be defined by those 9 billion or so oscillations, or ticks, in the cesium atoms. So even though we did invent the second, at some point someone realized that a second could be more accurately defined by these ticks. And here we are. This basically makes them the world's most precise pendulum, which I personally think is really neat. It's also worth noting that cell towers don't usually have full-blown atomic clocks inside. Instead, they usually rely on GPS or network sync, and sometimes with a backup oscillator for short-term stability. On top of that, cesium clocks aren't the only type of atomic clock. There's many more, but these tend to be the most common. Got all that? Good, because there is much more. The reason this is so important is because wireless communication as a whole is built primarily on rhythm. Let me explain. Think of your phone and the tower as two people trying to clap in unison. If they're even slightly out of sync, then the whole performance falls apart. In the same way, if your phone and the network are out of time, your calls can fail, your texts can become mistimed, or your data can get scrambled and corrupted. But the cell tower itself doesn't keep time alone. It's also connected to GPS. And here's a little known fact. GPS isn't just about location. It's actually really a giant time service. Every GPS satellite carries at least one, if not multiple, atomic clocks on it. And yes, they're in space. They continuously broadcast not only where they are, but what time it is, with insane accuracy. Your phone calculates its position by comparing the difference in time signals from multiple satellites. But even if you're not using maps, your phone still uses GPS to keep its clock aligned. This provides a lot of redundancy, as this system is important, and if it fails, many problems will follow. But we'll get to those later, because there's even more systems to ensure we keep track of time. Your Wi-Fi router, your computer, even massive data centers, all of them constantly check in with something called NTP, or the Network Time Protocol. It's one of the oldest parts of the internet, dating all the way back to the 1980s. NTP servers around the world keep devices in sync by passing along corrections from atomic clocks and GPS. Think of them like universal timekeepers, quietly making sure everyone's clock is set correctly. So by now your phone is surrounded by a chorus of clocks. These 3 main systems, cell towers, satellites, and internet servers, all whispering the same thing: stay in time. And for the most part, that's actually what happens. Because of how redundant this system is, there isn't very many times where it's actually failed. But I'll go over a few major events, just to give you a quick idea. In 1999, a GPS week rollover happened, which had some older GPS receivers miscalculate the date and time by nearly 20 years. This actually didn't have as much an impact as you would think, and it just caused some navigation and telecom systems to malfunction temporarily. In 2011, political issues between Serbia and Kosovo disrupted electricity supply balance and caused the entire European power grid to drift. Over months, clocks that relied on grid drifted 6 minutes late across much of Europe, which messed with a lot of systems worldwide. In 2012, a Swedish ISP, known as NetNod, accidentally pushed out an incorrect time via the NTP, which caused SSL certificates to break, websites to fail, and some banking systems just stop working entirely. In 2016, a bad software update from the US Air Force GPS ground control caused 13 GPS satellites to broadcast time off by 13 microseconds, which sounds really small, but radio telescopes, TV, and radio transmitters, as well as precision networks all over the world malfunctioned. In 2017, Nasdaq's time synchronization system malfunctioned, causing a financial market glitch, which mismatched data between feeds and caused confusion for trading systems. And then in 2019, a similar thing happened to 1999. This is because the GPS internal clock resets every 1024 weeks. Many older GPS devices that hadn't been patched thought the year was 1999. This one was a little bit more severe, and it caused telecom equipment, some power grids, and New York's paging network to go down temporarily. Those are all the major things that have happened, but overall, compared to what could have happened, those aren't even that bad. So while it would be bad, the world wouldn't instantly end, but systems like finance and navigation would quickly start failing. Your text messages depend on timestamps to stay in order, and your bank transactions depend on precise timing to prevent fraud. Stock markets, where billions of dollars change hands in microseconds, wouldn't work without synchronization. Even power grids rely on clocks to keep electricity flowing evenly, and that's just the obvious stuff. Streaming video, GPS navigation, multiplayer games, and even cloud storage, all of these depend on devices agreeing on what time it is. If they didn't, your data and everyone else's just wouldn't know how to line up. The world would start to feel like it was glitching, which is weird. And that's why nations guard timekeeping like infrastructure. Labs around the world operate primary atomic clocks, which are usually cesium fountain clocks or hydrogen maser clocks, and even more types. Some even look like this, or this, which I think is pretty cool, all ticking away with unimaginable precision. Together, they feed into what's called UTC, or Universal Time Coordinated, which is also better known as Coordinated Universal Time. Yeah, it's a little confusing. That's a master timeline that everything else follows. And when your phone updates its clock, it's not just fixing the time of day, it's syncing with all of civilization itself. In a way, you're kind of carrying the heartbeat of a global network. So yeah, that's how the world stays in sync to the billionth of a second. Every text you send, every call you make, every video you stream, they're all just signals riding on rhythm. And the precision of that rhythm is what makes our connected world possible. It's interesting to think that at one point a second was just something somebody decided. And now we've realized that it can be defined by a number of ticks in a cesium atom. And I think that's pretty cool. What do you guys think about this whole thing? Let me know in the comments. Hey guys, Tech Diver here, and thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't seen the channel before, I upload every Thursday. And as always, let me know if there's any other videos you guys want me to make. That being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.